A very good morning to you all, our Camnet viewer. This is a breakfast show, a show that comes to your screen every morning where we get to discuss a lot of important aspects of what is happening around in our economy. Of course, Monday, Tuesday, we look at what is happening in the community. Wednesday, Thursday, we look at policy issues. And today, on a Friday, we look at the business sector of what is happening in the business environment. Remember, yesterday, a lot of important things really happened. The IMF bailout package yesterday was announced for Zambia, 1.3 billion United States dollar, which is a 38-month program. That is 3 years program. The IMF will be giving Zambia some money, but that money, of course, is not free. It is a loan that has been given to Zambia with interest-free, of course it is, and of course it will be repaid in a period of 10 years after the first 5 years of not repaying the loan. Then when we start paying back, we will pay back for a period of 10 years. Another interesting aspect happened yesterday where the Republican President Hakainde Hichilema launched the 8th National Development Plan 2022 to 2026. Remember, this plan is so that our country can attain its vision of becoming a prosperous middle-income country by the year 2030. It is anchored on 4 pillars, and of course, the President yesterday elaborated how these pillars will be used to recover the economy of Zambia. A lot of important aspects is happening there. Our kwacha is doing well. We will see that in the course of the program. How is it that our local currency is performing against other major convertibles? This morning also, we are discussing a very important topic, and that is the sustainability of the piggery sector. Piggery in Zambia has quite been a source of concern. We saw the coming of certain diseases that led to the sector at one point even being shut down. There was no pig meat or anything on the market, but how sustainable is that to ensure that we see some flow in how the piggery sector is doing in Zambia? An association has been launched by some group of people who are dealing in that sector. We will be having them on set today to discuss how the sector will be sustainable. If you are a farmer or you are aspiring to become a piggery farmer, stay tuned to this program and ask those questions that you need to ask pertaining this sector with the association. Later on in the program also, we are going to talk a little bit about the activities that happened yesterday with regards to the IMF bailout package. In case you're watching, I know you're wondering, what does this mean? Why are people so excited? Why are others criticizing the initiative for Zambia to go the IMF way? And of course, this program gives you an opportunity to add your voice by calling and making those contributions. And of course, by following us on Facebook, you can also send those messages. We will be able to read them on the program. I am your guest, I am your host, pardon me, this morning, Prudence Chota. And right about now, we are going to go to the doctor's corner to just see what the doctors have for us this morning. We are talking about headaches, and let's get to hear what they have to say.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Mwamba Pumbwe, coming from Medical Women Association of Zambia. Today we are talking about secondary headache. Before I continue with the secondary headache, just a recap from yesterday's presentation. Yesterday I talked about primary headaches, which can be either migraine headaches, tension headaches, and cluster headaches. And the primary headaches are not because of a disease or secondary to any disease that you may have. They just occur due to certain risk factors, such as not drinking enough water, which is recommended on a daily basis, not having enough sleep, due to stress or anxiety. Those headaches could be due to watching too much TV or playing video games, and also lack of sleep or changes in sleep. Those are the main causes of a primary headache. So today I'm going to talk to you about secondary headaches. So secondary headaches are always because of an underlying condition or disease. The causes of secondary headaches, it can be due to trauma. So there are different types of trauma. It can be because child maybe fell from a tree, or you are involved in a road traffic accident, or you hit your head somewhere, or someone hits a stone on your head, all those can cause a secondary headache. Trauma can cause either concoction or contusion or even confusion. Then secondary headaches could also be to infection. So secondary headache can be due to some severe infection or just infections in general. So this infection can include ear infections, some cold, flu, trauma. Also, when you've got an infections in the sinuses, all these can cause primary headaches. Other causes of primary headaches include seizures, stroke, some brain abscess. So those and many more can cause secondary headaches. So there are some red flag symptoms. So there are red flag symptoms that you have to look out for when when a child is complaining of a headache. So to start with, so if a child who is less than 6 years old complains of a headache, you have to take that child seriously and take that child to the hospital so that the child can be checked on by the health workers. Other red flags. So the first red flag is the onset of the headache. So if a child is less than 6 years and complaining of the headache, take them to the health facility. Then if you've got a new onset headache which is less than a month, or a headache which is worsening, you have to take that child to the hospital. Then if the headache, also you need to look at what time of the day the headache is occurring. If the headache occurs mostly in the middle of the night, whereby disturbing the child from sleep, a child wakes up from sleep complaining of headache, or if the headache occurs early in the morning, it could be a sign of a more serious problem, and that child also needs to be checked from the hospital. Then also the headache that is triggered by coughing, like if someone coughs and then you start experiencing a headache. Then also the headache that comes after changing posture, maybe from a lying position to a standing position, you experience a headache. It could be a problem as well. Then headaches that are accompanied by vomiting, persistent vomiting, or an increase in the frequency of vomiting, those are also red flags of a headache. Then also if a child presents with a headache plus has got a fever, complaining of ear pain, or having some ear discharge, even those are red flags. Then some children can also experience photosensitivity, whereby they don't want to stay in the bright room because this will make their headache worse. Then some also experience neck stiffness. You're vomiting and you're having maybe some visual disturbances. It could be because of the increased intracranial pressure. So all these are red flag symptoms, and the child needs to be taken to the hospital immediately. Then the other thing is when a child is complaining of a headache and also starts having like maybe weakness in one hand or the leg or half of the body, or it is also a red flag symptom for secondary headaches. So secondary headaches should be taken more seriously, and if you see any of these red flag symptoms which I've mentioned, the vomiting, the photosensitivity, the neck stiffness, the fever, ear pain, or the headache that is worse in the morning or wakes up a child from sleep, then it needs some attention, and the child should be taken to the hospital for medical checkup. So always look out for the red flag symptoms that I've mentioned, and if you see your child is behaving in any unusual way, please bring your child to the hospital. My name is Dr. Mwamba Pombwe. Keep watching Camnet TV.
you have it. That was Dr. Mwamba Kombe. Of course, she was talking about headaches and a lot of interesting things there she's mentioned. You know, some of the times we have these signs and symptoms, but we ignore them. We ignore them because thinking, it's just one of those issues. The child just has a headache, it will go away. Please, let us ensure that we visit our health facilities. It is important for you to know how is it that you're performing health-wise. Sometimes, even if you don't have any problem in your body, just visit a health facility and say, I've come for a checkup. We've seen a lot of people right now just collapsing. It's because you've had a problem for quite some time and you were not aware. And if you started maybe diagnosis on time, you would save your life. Let's not risk everything that we have, but let's ensure that even without a problem, we visit our health facilities, just like the way we do exercise. Let's exercise on a daily basis. If you can't do it in the morning, at least do it before going for bed. Before going to bed, go and take a shower, then go and sleep. I'm sure like that you'll be having nice dreams. Not always you're the one who's being chased because you can't even run. Please, let's ensure that we exercise so that we can relax even when we go to sleep. If you can't do it in the night, do it in the morning so that you can have a productive and fruitful day. That's why most of the time when you're in the office, you feel so stressful, you feel so tired because we do not exercise. Exercising are important. And of course, visiting our health facility to know how is it that you're performing health-wise. It is also very, very important. It wouldn't take you a lot of time to check up on yourself. Remember, this is very important. A healthy people, I always emphasize when I come on the program, is a healthy nation. You can't have a healthy nation when you do not have healthy people. Talking about a healthy nation, how is it that our local currency is performing against other major convertibles? We've seen Kwacha for some time now doing quite well, and it has been a talk of the day and of course the talk of the African country. How is it that our local currency is performing, and how is it that the UPND administration has maintained or has managed rather to have a strong currency when other countries are not doing well in this COVID-19 era and of course the war between Russia and Ukraine. So there you have it. The Zambian kwacha against the United States dollar is buying at 15 kwacha 23 ngwe and selling at 15 kwacha 53 ngwe. That is a very progressive move we've seen there. The Zambian kwacha against the euro is buying at 15 kwacha 21 ngwe and selling at 15 kwacha 51 ngwe. The Zambian kwacha against the Great British Pound is buying at 17 kwacha 62 ngwe and selling at 17 kwacha 79 ngwe. The Zambian kwacha against against itself is buying at 1 kwacha and selling at 1 kwacha. I expected to see the South African rand there, but I don't know what has happened with my my director up there. But there you have it. That is the Zambian kwacha against the United States dollars there. At least we've seen kwacha again some momentum. 15 kwacha 23 where there you have it. That is quite good for an economy like Zambia. And now, having yesterday secured an IMF bailout package, we expect to save in our local currency, contract even more. So if you've been saving that money to buy a VITS, please don't. We don't want to see a lot of VITS on the road. I know a lot of people are excited. I was hearing someone yesterday just crack a joke and say, how much are the VITS on the international market? Please, we do not want to see an influx of my VITS. Golanko, my Prado, my Jeep, that's where we want to see. But that's an opportunity if you want to own a car. Our local currency is performing quite better. Maybe if you hold on even a little bit, we'll see the kwacha maybe go to 14 kwacha and 13 kwacha. But again, economists on the other hand sometimes do argue to say it is sometimes not good for a local currency to appreciate too much. You know, I think there's just I don't know, these economical issues. Anyway, I'm a journalist, but I don't know how they actually work. Too much of anything is bad. So in as much as we are celebrating, you hear others say, if a local currency appreciates more, it also has negative effects in the economy. But anyway, let's hope for the better for our country. And we hope to see this appreciation translate to the price of goods and commodities on the market. The cost of living still remains high. We can't keep celebrating the reduction of the Zambian kwacha, the IMF bailout package, when our people cannot afford a meal because the cost of living is too high. So I hope our government and other stakeholders can also work on that part. Speaking about that, yesterday, during the meeting where the IMF, the Bank of Zambia, the Ministry of Finance and others were meeting, there was an announcement that was actually done that next year government will be recruiting an addition of 15,000 civil servants. That story, we will of course zoom into that headline in the course of the day, and we are going to ask you to just maybe make a contribution. What do you think about government's decision to recruit 15,000 civil servants next year, and who do you think government should target? I know this year they targeted teachers and health workers, but can there be also a government can target to recruit more agriculture extension officers? We are talking about becoming a backbone in the southern region of agriculture products, but we cannot increase productivity if we do not have manpower in the agriculture sector. So maybe such suggestions, maybe the government will be able to listen to part of those suggestions. But maybe before we go to that, this week, a poultry or piggery association was actually launched by some stakeholders who, of course, are planning on trying to see how they can sustain this industry. We will be having them on set, but maybe just to understand what is it that I'm talking about, we are going to zoom into that story that made headline, even as we allow our guest to settle.
The livestock sector in Zambia is said to be growing, with a number of farmers diverting from common cattle rearing to other livestock such as chicken, goats, and pigs. The sector is said to be lucrative once modalities are put in place, alas things seem blurry. This has prompted farmers in the pig sector to form an association which is aimed at highlighting the challenges and gains made in the pig sector, as well as foster change by engaging government and other relevant stakeholders. Sunday, 28th August 2022, the Pig Association of Zambia was launched with a call on the government to harmonize the sector and champion the interest of smallholder farmers who are in the majority in the pig sector. Association chairperson Shamiso says the high cost of feed and market are among the top challenges the sector is facing.
We have seen Zambian pig farmers shut their operations due to what would seem outdated policies, and which have left local or Zambian farmers vulnerable to manipulation by big entities. So that's been among the biggest challenge. If the price of pork per kg drop drastically or to critically low, the price of pork per kg at one point dropped 5 to 6 times in a period of 6 months. And at the same time, the production costs remained very high. And as small-scale farmers or medium-scale farmers, we actually felt very squeezed. We felt like the little profit that we're making was taken away from us.
Ms. Shakumbiro notes that the sector is alive to the demand, urging the government to reduce on importing pork products to focus more on the local farmers.
We feel that foreign large entities should be supplementing or complementing Zambian pig farmers. What we don't want to see is the foreign entities taking over the entire pig industry. If there is need, if us as Zambian pig farmers are able to meet the demand, then we do not see the reason why we should be accepting imports, large amount of imports. What we don't want is them importing a large amount of pork into Zambia, meaning that the smallest SME or the medium-scale farmer is left out, is being forced out.
Meanwhile, Director Livestock Development in the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock, Mwilu says government's major challenge has been that farmers in the pig sector work in isolation, which has delayed progress, hoping that the new association will enhance communication channels to better the sector.
Government, first of all, one of the things that we have is that we welcome such initiatives. So we open our doors to the association for engagement on whatever things they might want government to intervene in. But also, over and above that, we are looking at developing the Livestock Development Act, which will regulate the players in the livestock industry. And so those are some of the things that we have in place to protect the livestock industry in general, but also the pig industry. One of the acts that we are reviewing is the Pig Industries Act, which is a very, very old piece of legislation, which is not even functional right now. But in the new Livestock Development Act, all those matters will be addressed and functionalized.
The Pig Farmers Association has been in existence for 2 months, formed by actual farmers to stand as a voice aimed at bridging the gap between the farmers and the buyers in the pig industry. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Association of Zambia there was launched this week. The players in the sectors are keen to ensure that the piggery industry becomes sustainable. We've seen a lot of happening in this sector. And of course, if you are a farmer watching this program and you want to join the association, or if you are a farmer watching this program and you want to start up a piggery business, what is it that you need to do? How sustainable is this industry? How is it that Zambia can benefit from it? This is the topic we are discussing this morning, the sustainability, of course, of the piggery industry. And of course, in studio, I am not alone this morning. I am joined by the Pig Association of Zambia members, among them the chairperson, that is Shamiso Shakumbiro. Madam, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us.
Of course, seated next to her there is Madam Kasongo Mwilu. She's a committee member of the association. Madam, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Of course, seated just adjacent to where I am right now is Mr. Francis Chipili, who is the Vice Secretary of the association. Sir, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Of course. Thank you so much for everyone who's tuned in to Camnet TV, those watching us on different platforms. Keep those messages coming. And of course, we will open our phone lines for those who would like to ask a question or make a contribution with regards to the topic of discussion this morning. To go again, digging deeper into what the Pig Association of Zambia is, I'll ask the chairperson, Madam Makumbiro, to just tell us something about the Pig Association of Zambia. What motivated you to come up with this association?
Thank you so much. So the Pig Farmers Association of Zambia is formed up of 16 committee members. And we are all pig farmers dotted around within the Lusaka region. Obviously, as an association, we do cover the whole of Zambia. And what motivated us, I would say, is we've seen a lot of unjust, or shall we say, unfairness where the pig industry is concerned, especially where the pricing is concerned. And as farmers, we need to be making a reasonable living out of it. But over the years, we've just seen the industry, for Zambian farmers more so, going down every time. And we thought, you know what, we are the Zambians. We are the ones who can build our economy. So we decided as a team collectively to start this association. So we started. So we are 2 months old.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Madam Mwilu, how sustainable is the pig industry? I know you are a farmer in this business, and of course, you have some experience. So as it stands right now, how sustainable do you think the pig industry is?
Okay. The pig industry is a sustainable business. It's just because we are being affected by these unfair business practices that are being talked about, and I think also policies. I think we're lacking in policies, regulatory framework to do with the pig farming and livestock industry in general. So if those can be improved, we are on the right track.
Just elaborate a little bit when you say unfair business practice. What do you mean? Do we have maybe a situation where the market is open to an extent where we are having maybe pig products coming in the country as opposed to what we have on the market? So when you say business unfair practice, what do you exactly mean? Just elaborate a little bit about that.
Okay, it's a number of things. For a start, we have heard of imports of mechanically deboned meat coming into the country, and we feel we as Zambian pig farmers are well able to produce pork and pig products to meet the Zambian market and even to export.
Okay.
Yes, and also I think there are some businesses that seem to be market influencers who actually dictate prices that they are going to offtake the pork products from the farmers. So I'm trying to bring out the fact that the market is not it's not free in a way, because we should allow the market forces to dictate the prices. But we have a situation where the pig farmer puts in all the inputs, raises a pig to market standard, market weight, and then when it's time for them to sell their pigs, you find that they are not, then the off-takers are the ones who are dictating at what price to take at. Right now, I think the price that the off-takers are offering is like 39 kwacha per kg, which is below even the input costs. So at the end of the day, you find that the pig farmer is just raising those pigs and just literally giving them at a loss.
That's quite serious. Let's come to you, Mr. Chipili. Let's talk about capital. For someone who's just watching this program or joining, they are wondering, if I am to venture, pardon me, in this business, how much capital do I require? How much capital does one require in order to start a pig business?
Well, in terms of capital requirements for pig production, first of all, you need to decide how many sow units do you want to begin in. But from experience, would like to, advise farmers to, first of all, start small and then learn the business, and then from there you can begin to expand. But what I must say is that, my colleagues have alluded to, pig production requires a sustainable flow of cash. You need working capital, and so you need to ensure that, for instance, if you start with a 4 sow unit, meaning that you have 4 female animals that are able to produce for you, you need to feed them when you service them. You need to feed them when they're lactating, and then the piglets that you get from them, you have to grow them until they reach a market weight, and usually you get that between 4 and 6 months. So you need to have a constant supply of feed, and feed is very critical in pig production, because without it you cannot reach those desirable market weights that the market dictates. Right now we are faced with a lot of challenges in terms of the feed. Sometimes we formulate our own feed using recommended recipes by the animal nutritionist. But we also have a challenge on the market, because the main component of the feed that we make, it's meal number 3, which is a byproduct of maize. Right now there's an erratic supply of the commodity, and also the cost of soya beans is very high. And so for those that want to venture into, those are things that they need to look at. You do the numbers, and it's also very difficult to point at a figure because the prices are always changing. So in terms of costing for new beginners, this is why we recommend that you start small. And then,
for example, how much would it cost me to raise 1 pig? Approximately, how much do I need to raise 1 pig? And the market out there, I'm going to come to the chairperson over the market issues. But maybe if I'm to start up a piggery business, to raise 1 pig, I know you've been in this sector, so you can approximate. Approximately, how much do you need?
So for a piglet that from the point where it's born to about 4 to 6 months, you need about between 1,800 to about 2,000. So because this is why there's a lot of fluctuations in terms of price of the commodity that we're using. Right now, the price that we are paying for meal number 3 is the price that we normally would have been paying around December and January. This is the time when we experience lower input cost, but it's the opposite because of the erratic supply of the commodities.
Of the commodity.
Yes.
Oh, I hear you. The piggery sector there, we are talking about how sustainable it is. This week, an association called the Pig Association of Zambia was actually launched, and the players in the sector are looking at how is it that this business can become sustainable. Remember, this industry, or rather the livestock industry in Zambia, does not have the right policies, for lack of a better word to use, that favors them. As a result, a lot has been happening on the market, such as extortion by the buyer who determine what the price is. This is what Madam Mwilu was speaking to before Mr. Chipili came in. And of course, it has talked about how much capital you need before starting a business. So if you have questions, keep those questions coming. And of course, we are opening our phone line for you to ask the questions that you need to ask pertaining to this. If you are a person and you want to venture into this industry and you have questions that you'd like to ask, this is an opportunity. The Zambia, of course, Pig Association was launched, and we are speaking to some of its members this morning. Talking about the market, Madam Shakumbiro, let me come to you. The pig market, how is it? How does it look like? I know when you're coming up with a business plan, of course, we look at the market. Who's your target market? In this case, who's your target market when you're coming up with this proposal, or when I want to start doing piggery today? Will I risk it and just take it per market? I hear people say, no, in Congo there is good market. So should someone start just to maybe take to Kasumbalesa, or maybe take to somewhere because they hear it? So how is the market like when it comes to pigs?
Okay. The market when it comes to pigs at the moment, I would personally say it is favorable. However, there's a lot of detection. I think the big issue that we are fighting on the market is the pricing, because you find that big entities are detecting that price. So, for example, like the minister said, our livestock policy is outdated. It was last updated 1965. So you find that there's big entities who have been taking the stock from Zambian pig farmers. So those big entities are the ones who are also manipulating the price, you see. The market is there, but at the same time, we are being told that, for example, if you're to have your pigs collected by these big entities, they tell you, oh, there's a 3 months wait. And if there's a 3 month, everybody is complaining about the 3 months to 6 months wait. And even when that time comes, they tell you, oh, your date has been cancelled. So that makes it very difficult to really, you start asking yourself, where are they getting this stock if they're not getting it from Zambian farmers? Okay. And then you mentioned the thing about Kasumbalesa. Kasumbalesa is another place, you know, they do like pork here, even in Zambia. It's one of the favorable meats in the country. Of course,
I equally like the pork meat.
Yeah, it's the top, because a lot of people have actually changed we've become more health conscious, I would like to say, in comparison to eating beef, for example. So a lot of people have switched and gone to pork, to white meat, you know, the pork, the chicken, the fish. So the market is there. I think we just need to the policies. I think we're all going to come down to the policies at the moment. Those policies, they really need to be reviewed as a matter of urgency to favor, especially the Zambian farmers. Otherwise, the market is there. We have Kasumbalesa, yes, but you can only go to Kasumbalesa when you know you've exhausted the Zambian market. By the moment we know that the Zambian market has not been exhausted.
No, it hasn't.
It's just the manipulation which is making it look like it's been exhausted, but it hasn't. And it's in some way, you find that this kind of manipulation is putting off some people venturing into pig farming. I think pig farming is a very good venture. It can be profitable. When you look at the likes of neighboring countries like Kenya, for example, or South Africa, you know, they talk about millionaires in the pig industry. And then we don't hear that story here in Zambia. And then you start to ask yourself, why is that?
Well, let me just cut you a bit. It seems we have a caller who's interested in knowing something about the topic of discussion. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Sir, good morning. We can hear you. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Hello.
Hello, sir, we can hear you. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Good morning, family.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you so much. You're through to Camnet TV. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Thank you so much. This is Mr. Chimunya says that. Madam, because they don't tell how are you here?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Thank you so much. This is Mr. Chimunya says that. Calling me Lusaka.
Okay, Mr. Chimunya.
I'm great. My sister, Madam Akumbiko, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
It's been a long time. How Chongwe?
Chongo is doing fine, thank you.
I'm okay. Anyway, just want to encourage you guys that you are so fantastic. If you have that good, that's kind of a good job. What you just need to do is to make sure that you really you have to really fight for the favorable work prices and make sure that you start adding value to the local produce product. So that probably at the end of the day, you might start actually exporting and make sure that the country aids the forest. Like the way we've seen our new government is really putting a lot of emphasis in aiding what the forest, our economy is rising. Guys, thank you so much. Keep it up.
Thank you so much, sir, for that contribution there. Of course, it is a word of encouragement where it is encouraging the association to push to ensure that you also begin to add value for not just the local market, but for the export market as well. But maybe let's get back to where we left, where you were talking about the market before maybe we come to the next question. On the market, you were saying something.
Yes, I was saying the market is quite favorable. Of course, you have the option of importing the whole pork to the likes of Kasumbalesa. But I was saying before our caller came in, if you look at the countries like Kenya, for example, Kenya do very well when it comes to the pig sector. And South Africa do very well when it comes to the pig sector. But we've also had at some point that we were getting a lot of our pork from South Africa. And this is what I was saying, the manipulation of this outdated 1965 policy. You know, 1965, my mother was almost 5 years old. You know,
and that's the policy that we have, and we are using it up to now.
You know, she was almost 5 years old, and we are still using that same policy now. And those people who come with their big pockets from international countries come into this country, they've picked up on that. They're not stupid. They've picked up on it, and they're working, they're manipulating that to their own advantage. That's why us Zambian farmers, we are suffering. But like the caller said, for example, take myself. I used to supply to one big entity at some point, and I stopped. I was kind of like forced to go into value addition.
Looks like today people are interested in knowing more about this. Good morning.
Hello.
Sir, good morning.
Good morning.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Yeah, my name is Simon Job. I'm a pig farmer in Chisamba.
Sir, it's good to know you're watching this morning. Please go ahead with your contribution or your question.
Yes, my question is directed to Francis Chipili. Yes. Yeah, Mr. Chipili, I want to find out, I want you to talk about the membership. How can I mobilize in this approach?
Okay. Can you hear us?
Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much for that question. So Mr. Sam there from Chisamba, of course, is a pig farmer and he wants to know more about how to join the association. Of course, we are coming to that later on in the program. We have those questions that we will be asking with regards to that. So I know he wants to know. So Mr. Chipili, you will come in because the question was directed to you. But before you answer that question, let's give her a chance to finish her thought. Then we can move to membership. Of course, I would love that question to come towards the end of the interview because a lot who are watching would like to know how is it that you can join. But maybe before we speak about that, please finish your thought. Yes,
so I was saying, for example, I used to supply to one big entity. I know this entity is a foreign entity. And at some point, like my colleagues say, you used to get a good amount per kg, you know, to sustain you. But of late, at 39 kwacha per kg, it's like you're just keeping this pig for this entity and then you give them for free. So they somewhat, for example, like many other farmers, forced me to start value addition. Because in a way, I thank them as well. Because if it wasn't for that pressure, I probably wouldn't have opened up my butchery. You know, I started selling my own pork, so from the farm direct into my butchery. But that's only covering the small area of people within Chongwe and a few from Lusaka that know that have got a butchery out there. So I think this is another area that we need to look at as an association. I mean, my colleague here, he will cover the benefits of being part of an association.
Yes, of course.
But if I can just name one, we are also looking to incorporate like a cooperative where we can start probably making our own feed, perhaps starting our own processing, supplying sausages, pork chops, ribs to the wider range communities within Zambia.
I'm sure you will. It all starts with a step which you've taken to form an association. Before I come to you, Mr. Chipili, let me talk to Madam Kasongo Mwilu, who's a committee member of the association. Let's talk about the production. Metric tons. How many metric tons of pork do we produce in the country? Do you have those figures, maybe on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and stuff like that? So that even as we are talking, we know how much does the market need? And how much are we producing when it comes to the quantity of pork in the country?
Okay, thank you. I think at the moment, since our association is just in its inception, we are really trying to put together the information that is needed to know exactly how much the country is producing. Because as has been stated, when we try to check with the relevant government ministries or the veterinary departments, they don't have the data. So we are in the process of compiling, and I think our meeting on Saturday was one starting point where the farmers that came through were able to give us some numbers of how much pigs they have, and I will continue to work on that. We'll extend and try to put the information together and have a consolidated figure.
Wow. Of course, a lot of pig farmers there. If you're watching this program, and of course you've got a question with regards to the association. Pig Association of Zambia was launched this week, and we are discussing the sustainability of the sector. We know that a lot of pig meat and its products are coming from outside the country, which of course is posing a challenge with our own producers. So the association, of course, is now there to tackle some of those issues. Talking about maybe the same aspect of the association, Mr. Chipili, the question was directed to you. How is it that someone can join the association?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Njov, for that important question. First of all, we have a secretariat. We also have a media and public engagement committee that sends out information. So they can contact us on one of the numbers, 095 444 8017, and once they reach that number, they'll get all the information that is needed. There is a subscription fee that is required to get registered, so that we start collecting that database, that information you're asking for in terms of the numbers. There is also a membership fee that is members need to, prospecting members needs to pay. But as an association, we are very flexible in terms of how the prospecting members pays their membership fee. So we are very open and welcoming to all the farmers, pig farmers that needs to join us, because as you know, there is power in unity. What has been lacking is that all pig farmers have been segmented into working two silos, isolated. So when you work as a team, when you work as one group, we can consolidate our production figures. One thing I need to mention, since you talked about how much are we producing, like my colleague indicated, there are a lot of gaps, but Zambia recently had imported over 25,000 metric tons of pork from South Africa. Wow. When Zambian pig farmers have been struggling to find the local market. At the same time, we've been advised that the major processors, that there's a wait period of 3 months, and when that 3 months elapses, they're not able to take up our meats. And one thing they've been, the song that they've been singing to the authorities, that Zambian pig farmers are incapable of meeting the local demand. Wow. But I want to mention here that we are more than capable. We've demonstrated our resiliency in terms of staying there regardless of all the negativity and the barrier entries and operation barriers that we have been subjected to. we are more than capable, and this is why we are calling upon all those farmers out there that have been discouraged, that now the association is born, and let's work together and make sure that we own the pig sector.
Talk to them even about the benefits of joining the association, because someone might be wondering to say, I'm an alone person, and of course I have the market. I think I'm doing okay. I don't need to join the association because they are telling me. I think this is a mentality that we have, that sometimes joining an association, they'll ask you to pay a fee. So I would rather not pay that fee, but continue working alone because maybe I have a market out there. So let's talk about even some of the benefits. Talk to the farmers on the benefit of joining, of course, an association.
So one of the major things that we get as far as the benefits is the market. So as an association, like our chairperson had indicated, one of the things that we're working on as an association is actualizing the formation of a cooperative, which we've already started the process. That cooperative would operate as a business aspect of marketing. So as an association, we'll be able to reach out to the neighboring countries. As an individual, it's very difficult to penetrate a regional market. But as an association, that is able to meet all the required standards of international exports of meat. We'll be able to represent our members. And so as a single processor, yes, like our chairperson indicated, you can meet a small market, but if you want to expand and grow your business, you need to look at the broader market, and the broader market can only be attained through joining of the association. Another thing is we are working modalities on which we would have another unit that is sourcing and making our own feed. Feed is a major cost. About 60 to 80% of our cost is feeding. So if we can minimize the cost of feed, that means the bottom line, the profit that our farmers will be making will be much higher, and so then they become more sustainable. And this is why our motto is improving pig production for sustainability. So you join us and we guarantee that your operation will be sustainable. Another thing is biosecurity, national biosecurity in terms of our animals. What has been happening is that as the law is outdated, so the policies that take care of how do we ensure that the diseases, recently there was an outbreak.
Yeah, I was actually coming to that.
Yeah, there was an outbreak of the African swine fever, and we don't know where it's coming from. Even the technocrats in the ministry, they have not explained where it's coming from, and our farmers have been affected. Some animals have been slaughtered on the farms and they have not been compensated. And now if you're working with an association, we'll have an insurance policy that helps us to mitigate those losses. We'll have a voice, we engage government on how we can change the policies, because in other countries, when such outbreaks occur, farmers are compensated because we contribute to national food security. Of course. And so government must be able to help us and take care of us when such difficulties occur. So this is why joining the association is important. It's important because you have a bigger market, you have a voice, and also learning. One of the things that has been happening is that if you go on the internet and try and Google on pig production in Zambia, you'll find scanty information. There's no data. There's no data. So what we're trying to do as an association is to create a data bank of information. And this is why part of our membership, we've included students at a minimum fee, because we want to ensure that there's continuity, so that students are able to tap into the resources, our experience as expertise in the industry in terms of production. We want the student to come and learn from us, and also we learn from them because they're doing the theory. We'll give them the practical aspect of learning, as well as collecting that data, and so that for future utilization and reference, the nation can be enriched in that aspect.
Pig Association of Zambia was launched this week, and we are speaking to some of the members, experts in the sector. They are not just members, but they are, of course, pig farmers, and they are speaking to how to sustain the industry, and that is a topic we are discussing this morning. If you're just joining us, you want to join the pig industry, you don't know where to start from. How much capital do you need? I think Mr. Chipili spoke to that. You can just go a little bit on the recording, which is of course live on our Facebook page, and listen to some of the things that they've said pertaining to this topic. But moving on, maybe just to get to discuss, and of course if you've got questions, you can send through those questions on our Facebook page, or maybe you can call on the lines that are on the screen, and let's get to interact. I will be reading through some of the messages that are coming through to our Facebook page. So if I know you've sent a question and you're worried about that, don't get worried. We will read some of those messages. We know the pig sector is one that has been faced with some challenges, which Mr. Chipili, of course, has mentioned to, and that is pertaining diseases. We know that last time government had to even put a ban on the movement of these animals or even trading, and of course, it had an effect on the farmers in that sector. So speaking about diseases in the sector, let me come to you, the chairperson of the association, Madam Shakumbiro. We know there is the swine fever we are talking about and other aspects and stuff like that. How are these affecting the businesses? And in the future, what are you looking at to prevent such occurrence? I know Mr. Chipili has spoken to the fact that government needs to compensate farmers, of which they've not been doing, even when they contribute to the national basket. So let's talk about the diseases in this sector, some of which you are battling with as farmers, and what are you looking at in the future to combat this?
Right, so if we come to the famous African swine fever or African swine flu, it's a disease which has been going back many, many years, and it is what we call a notifiable disease. And by law, you are required, if your farm is affected, you need to report this to the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock. And looking at the little information that we have on this disease in Zambia, we're talking about probably 5-10 years ago, farmers who were affected, because it's a notifiable disease, there is no cure, meaning there is no cure, there is no vaccine. Yes. So once your livestock is affected, it has to be slaughtered. Wow. And not only your livestock, if there are any other pig farmers within a certain radius near you who also keep pigs, theirs has to be slaughtered, whether they've got the disease or not. It's a way of trying to control the spread. So like I said, like going back a few years back, farmers were compensated to some degree. But now as we are, if oil, for instance, I think we had a gentleman who's about 200 plus or 600 plus pigs were slaughtered. And this was a person's retirement. And you're left with nothing. Wow. So you have to start. We actually have a member as well whose livestock was destroyed. And it's only now that he's having to restock again. So this kind of disease, what we're trying to see is, I think working with the government, rather than be reactive, we don't want to be reactive. We want to be very proactive. They say prevention is better than cure. That's where we want to get at the moment, rather than waiting for this disease to come and then all your investment, everything is taken away and you're left with nothing. So I think we've discussed when we met the ministry some options where we can have, even for instance at toll gates, points where we can have some sort of how would I call it, a dipping for vehicles, you know, to sanitize cars. And then we've also spoke about the process of, for example, now we are having, each farmer can take a blood sample to the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock in Balmoro. And when you get to that place, there is no dip. Anyone can go in and out. So anyone can bring the virus to that area. And a lot of farmers go there. So these are the small things that we are looking at. Obviously, there are so many other diseases within the pig sector, but for us, that one is the major one. I think that's the one which a lot of people fear the most, because it's got no vaccine, it's got no treatment. So if you get it, that's it, you're gone. Yeah.
Do you think maybe this aspect has been, the aspect of when your animal has got the disease and you know that it will be slaughtered, do you think that has been maybe contributing to some farmers not reporting to the ministry to say my animals are facing this challenge? Do we have such incidences where a farmer knows that I'm going to lose all my investment, instead of going to report, maybe they just decide, let me slaughter my animals and sell the meat?
Definitely. I can almost certain say that has happened. Because you know once they slaughter, you're not going to get a coin. We've had desperate incidents where people are actually smuggling pigs past checkpoints, going through the borders. It's because the processes, you know you're not going to get a coin, and people are becoming desperate. And sometimes, like you say, we've had instances where someone is actually slaughtered, they're sick, you slaughter them and then they go and sell them. Although the actual African swine fever will not affect humans, if I may just say that. It will not affect you. If I was to eat it today, I will not get sick of African swine fever. However, I'm going to now be able to spread it. So if I have it on my clothes, on my hands, and we come to a shop where we or a vet where we are going to buy feed, you and I meet, we shake hands as we do Africans, you're going to take it to your farm.
Wow.
If my car came there, and obviously I've come from an infected farm, you've also brought your car there, you're going to take it to your farm. You see, so those are the kind of things that we are trying to avoid. And a lot of these things are going to go down to policy. I think we need to work at a stage where we can meet halfway, find a solution where if you notify the ministries, encourage people to notify the ministries, and there should be some sort of benefit to encourage people. Otherwise, people will say, well, what's the point of me reporting if nothing is going to happen? They'll just come and kill off my stock and then I'll be left with nothing. And obviously that's not what we want. We want people to report when these things happen, but at the same time there need to be an incentive as to if this person reports, what support is out there for this farmer. Yes, at the moment we are feeling very much unloved as pig farmers.
The Association of Zambia there. It was launched this week with the intent of ensuring that the pig sector becomes sustainable. A lot of farmers in the industry are facing a lot of challenges. A lot of people have actually abandoned this sector. But the association on this program says it is a sustainable business. What we just need are the right policies. And of course, a lot of aspects have been discussed and we are still discussing on this program. Let's talk about vaccinations of pigs and the medication. I'm going to go to you, Madam Mwilu. We know for a fact that when we talk about cows, there is a process that they go through of vaccination and stuff like that. When we talk about chickens and other livestock sector, but for the piggery, update us. How do they get vaccinated, or do they even at any point? And what kind of medication do we look at?
Okay, we do vaccinate pigs. Although the vaccinations for the pigs are not so complicated. So for a start, at 3 days old, we have to inject iron to the pigs because when the pigs are born, they are born with a deficiency in iron, and so if you don't introduce that iron to them, you end up having mortalities. They'll be susceptible to deaths. Yes, and then we also give vitamins just to encourage their growth. Yeah, multivitamins. Yeah, and I think pretty much that is that. Is there anything else?
And just to add on, yes, we like my colleague says, iron is the first one that we give, and obviously vitamin just to boost the immunity. And then you come to 3 months phase, or you can also do it at weaning where we give deworming, because yes, our pigs are very prone to worms, and obviously if you don't deworm your pigs, at some point when the infestation becomes so big, that meat you will not be able to buy it, because if you slaughter a pig which has got worms right now, you will find that the meat will have some sort of what we call, sorry, I'm a medical person, so I may use a bit of strong language, what we call lesions. If I can say mchinyanja, monga to londa, so izaoneka to show that meat is not healthy. So we have to deworm it. Every 3 months we do deworming. And that's pretty much it. And obviously we also have other vaccinations which we give to prevent.
Let me just hold you a little bit. Let me hold your thoughts so that we don't lose that caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much, sir. You are through to Camnet TV. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Yeah, my name is Lobeto.
Pardon?
My name is Lobeto.
Oh, Lobeto, please, sir, go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, I'd like to go police let us take police institution.
Please repeat, we can't hear you. Just speak up a little bit.
I would like to start with my congratulations to police that have come up with the association.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not number 2. Yeah, but for now, I would like the association, I think, to push the government so that the guys in the field, the vet doctors that are in the field, they do a lot of work without much support from the government. Yeah, we have a small holding farm in the Pampa, same area in particular. But the fact that the gentleman there has no motorbike to go around with in the farm. So for over 6 months, he's really, hiring bikes, you can't look for him to extra areas, even when you need a test, you can't look for him to give it to a farm.
Okay. Mr.
Yeah, so these are the issues that I think the government needs to look at. They are ready to do their work, but I think they are handcuffed within the office for the administration. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Alberto, thank you so much for that contribution. A very powerful submission there coming from Chisamba. It looks Chisamba this morning is doing very well with regards to the topic of discussion. But he has mentioned a very important aspect where government needs to support the agriculture extension officers out there, because most of them are doing a lot of work, but they don't have the right support. They have no motorbikes. And of course, on the program earlier, I did mention that government yesterday, through the Ministry of Finance, Secretary to the Treasury Felix Nkulukusa, did mention that the government will next year be recruiting 15,000 additional civil servants. I said, what kind of people should we look at? We know government employed teachers and nurses, and next year we don't expect also to see teachers and nurses. Is there a probability that government can include agriculture extension officers in that 15,000 if at all we are to see a boost in the agriculture sector? If you missed it yesterday, government, yes, did mention that 15,000 civil servants will be recruited in the 2023 national budget, and part of those resources that were given by the IMF will go towards the recruitment of those 15,000. Maybe it's high time we started advocating that government should recruit agriculture extension officers. I'll come to Mr. Chipili over that issue of extension officers in other places, but you were talking about the vaccination and the deworming and stuff like that. Let's pick it up from there.
Yeah, so apart from the deworming, which is a major one in our industry, we also have vaccination for respiratory conditions. So we're talking about the coughing, the vaccinations such as respiratory. We also have other vaccinations that we can give to our pigs to aid in fertility, for us to use that word, just for the pig to farrow. In the lay terms, is to farrow means to give birth or to deliver, so that a pig can farrow healthy piglets. So the vaccines are out there. If I may also point out one thing that we've seen, that within the cattle industry, the government actually does help cattle farmers with vaccinations, and we would also love to see that happen to pig farmers, because at the moment we don't get any aid in relation to vaccination, so everything is left up to the farmer. And but like my colleague says, the vaccinations for pigs are not many, but the few that we have are essential to the growth of your pig farming industry. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, Mr. Chipili, before I come to the question on the recruitment of extension officers, agriculture officers, let's talk about a little bit about taking care of pigs. I've seen a situation when I was growing up. I've seen a situation. I've gone to villages and I've seen a situation where sometimes you find pigs just move anyhow. They eat anything they find. The child is just from doing excretion there, and the pig comes to be the one to pick up and stuff like that. And some of these issues, what makes people say, I can't eat pigs. I remember in Russia one time, we even had an incident where a pig went in a graveyard and just dug a newly buried child and stuff like that. So let's talk about taking care of pigs. What environment do pigs need to grow into? And those pigs that move aimlessly, what are the effects of that, not just to the animals, even the environment around?
Yes, thank you very much. That's a very important, question. First of all, pig production, there are so many systems that you can adopt in pig production. There's free-range systems, or outdoor production systems, and there's also indoors.
Hello.
What I usually encourage people is to try and imitate nature. Because
Mr. Chipili, let me hold your thought before we lose that call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Sir, thank you so much. You're through to the program. Tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Yeah, I'm telling my name. I'm calling from Kitwe.
It's good to know Kitwe is tuned in this morning. Please go ahead with your question.
Yes, please. Good morning, family.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I've just joined in quite late. I'm not so sure if the membership thing has been covered yet. However, I want to know us from the Copper Belt how we can benefit from the association. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that contribution. That's why earlier when someone asked me that question, I even said it to say that such questions, we usually ask them at the end because a lot of people, even those who are just joining, would want to know how to join the association and stuff like that. So we are going to discuss that, sir. I know we've talked about it, but towards the closing of the program, they are going to mention how is it that you can be a member of the association. Of course, if you need to get their contacts, they'll leave it with Camnet TV, and you can just send that message, and we will be able to give you the contact to the people on set this morning. Of course, Pig Association of Zambia was launched this week, and we are with the members, and we are looking at the sustainability of the sector. We know the sector has been neglected in the past, and no policies speaking to it. The last policies, if I heard them speak correctly, were in 1964, somewhere there. Those are the policies that we've been thriving on up to now. So a lot of things have been discussed. So of course, they will mention how is it that you can join the association towards the closing of the program. But Mr. Chipili, now back to you. We are talking about the taking care of our animals for those who are doing those ventured in the sector. So before you lose your thought.
Yes, so what I was trying to explain is that there are various systems of production that a farmer can adopt. So I mentioned there's an outdoor production system, and there's also indoor production system. So the outdoor production system is closer to imitating nature, because when God designed, everything was synchronized. But because of the population that is growing, we have limited land, the population is growing, and so demand for meat is increasing. And so we need to, and this is why the intensive production system came about, and this is where we have animals housed in buildings. Some you can be walking in the city and you think it's a building, but that's a farm. Those are industrial farms that have confined animals. But
okay, let me just hold the thought again. We have another caller. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, madam.
Thank you so much, sir. Through to the program. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
My name is I'm calling from Mwilunga.
Mwilunga, how is Mwilunga this morning?
This morning, Mwilunga is very fine. Hope you there.
We are very fine, thank you, as you've seen. Please, sir, go ahead with your contribution, or rather your question.
Yes, my first contribution is I want to know how can I join the sector, especially if I join the sector, how am I going to save the money first I buy the pig?
Okay.
How can they transport those pigs from that place to Mwilunga? Yes.
Okay, 3 questions there. Thank you so much. This morning is got 3 questions. How is it that you can join the association? How is it that it is, of course, is going to benefit from this? I think we've talked about that, but just for the sake of those who are just joining, some of those questions I will ask towards the end of the program, just towards the wrapping up, so that you can quickly speak to that. But if you're following us on our different platforms, like on Facebook, this program is being streamed live. And if you've missed something when the program has come to an end, you can just go back to the interview and listen to some of the things that we've spoken, because we have spoken to quite a number of things. But every question, thank you so much for everyone watching, is going to be answered in the program to ensure that we leave you satisfied and not craving for information. So, Mr. Chipili, before you lose your thought.
Yes, so production systems.
Yes, please.
Indoor and outdoor production system. But each system, there's a misconception where people tend to think that pigs are dead animals.
Yeah, of course.
But actually, pigs are very clean animals. We see them in mud because of their skin. That is like applying skin lotion, because when they're exposed to the sun, they react. So when you see them in mud, they are just basically like a human being who's sunbasking and applying sunscreen.
Oh,
skin.
trying to protect their skin.
They're protecting
Interesting.
their skin.
I didn't know about that. I've heard sometimes people say, when someone tells you at wabanke nkumba kutoka sana, because you clean it, after cleaning it, you still go back and go in the mud.
Yeah, because in our climate, our climate is very hot. So obviously they want to be in a situation whereby their skin and their health is not compromised. So in terms of taking care of our animals, we wash our pigs every day. For instance, at our farm, we've adopted twice a day. We feed them every day, twice a day, in the morning and in the afternoon. So before we feed, we clean up and collect the manure and put it in the designated areas. So if you do those routines, you find that your animals will be very healthy, they'll be very happy, and they'll produce for you. As far as the outdoor system, that's where most of the challenges are, because the ones that are kept outside, they eat worms, which is not a bad thing. They are eating other aspect of supplementary feed, but then you need, like my colleagues pointed out, you need to deworm them more so that they are more healthy. You also provide litter for them in terms of when they're farrowing, so that their piglets are warm enough. The first 1 week to 10 days of farrowing is very critical to ensuring the survivability of your piglets. So we make sure that when your sow farrows, you are there 24/7 to ensure that you are providing the warmth and also helping them, because when they are lactating, you find that some pigs might sleep on the piglet. So, yes, and it's a huge animal.
They are huge animals.
Yeah. So you have to ensure that you help them during that time. Of course, there are some at commercial, large commercial scale. There are crates that are designed to help in that area. But when you're starting as a small scale, medium scale farmer, maybe the design of your pens or your piggery is has not yet responded to that. So you find that you have to physically help your animal so that you are not losing the piglets, because each piglet that your sow farrows, you want to make sure that it goes to the market. So taking care of pigs, cleaning, deworming, teeth clipping. My colleague talked about giving the iron injection. So other than that, at 3 days, they have sharp teeth. So if you don't clip them, they'll be hitting the sow, the mother.
Oh,
so the mother won't. Yes.
Breastfeeding.
Yes.
Okay.
So so the mother will have no interest in lactating them.
Okay.
So it's important that you clip the teeth so that there's no pain to the to the mother. Yes. So that's a very important undertaking in the pig production. The other thing that we also do is for the male piglets. At one point or another, we also castrate them. That also helps in improving the quality of the meat. So that because if you don't castrate, you find that they'll taint the meat. The male tend to taint the meat, so the quality goes down. So you ensure that those are castrated, unless if you are keeping them for production, then you move them to a different plane. The other thing is we also do tail docking. So we cut the tails. I'm sure you've seen some pigs where...
What are the benefits of that? Of course, others would like to know. So just mention about it and also the benefit of doing that.
Yeah, so the benefits of tail docking is that sometimes they get bored, especially the ones that are confined. So they'll start eating each other's
tails.
Yes. So
they're very playful.
Yeah, they're very playful animals. Yeah. So you want to help them so that they don't do that to each other.
Okay.
So another thing that we do is we spray our pens with chemicals that helps to minimize ticks. Because if you don't do that, you find that they'll be rubbing against the walls
all the time.
Yes. So some of the things, if you can't afford to plaster the wall, you have to ensure that at least every week you spray around your pen. Yeah, so cleanliness is very important. Hygiene, biosecurity is very important in pig production, because without biosecurity, then the risk of diseases are high. But generally, pigs, once you take care of them from first day to 10 days, and then the other critical part is when you wean them. Because then you are moving them from liquid food to solid food. So one of the things that we do is before we transition them in terms of feed from liquid to solid, but you are giving them feed that is formulated to help them because their digestion system is not fully developed. So you give them small food that will go on before you introduce winner feed. So that's also very important. You must ensure that they are not eating the mother's feed. So each pig has a category. So for instance, we have boar and sow. So you feed them boar and sow. We have lactating feed. You give them to the mothers the sows that are lactating. And then you have the grower, the pigs that you are growing for the market. And then you have the finisher before you actually sell them.
Wow.
So there's about 5 categories of feed. So if you have all the stages of the cycle in terms of production, you must ensure that you have all those categories of feed. And of course, because for instance, a lactating sow has different nutritional needs, so you have to ensure that it's receiving adequate nutritional content in the feed that you're providing. And this is why it's critical that the challenges that we face in the industry are taken care of so that we're able to afford the various types of feed.
Rich information there coming from Mr. Chipili, of course, the Vice Secretary for the Pig Association of Zambia that was launched this week. Farmers in the pig sector are not playing this year. They are here to ensure that the sector thrives. And of course, we have the chairperson here in studio, and of course, we have a member of the committee, and of course, Mr. Chipili, who's the Vice Secretary of the association. And we are speaking about the sustainability of the piggery sector. A lot of important aspects have been discussed, and a lot of important questions and contributions, comments have been made by you, the viewer, following this program. I know we are almost in the dying end of the program, but before maybe we speak too much, Madam Mwilu, before I come to you, the chairperson, there's an aspect, or there's something that I read on this sector where someone was saying sometimes if you're keeping animal for production, like you want them to be increasing, there is a way in which you are not supposed to mix them, like animals born from the same mother, against that crossbreeding, that becomes a problem and stuff like that. Maybe just teach us a little bit about that. If you're keeping animals for production, like you want them to increase, how do you isolate those ones from the ones that you want to sell to ensure that you're not having brothers and sisters mixing and producing piglets?
What we do is we have specific breeders, okay, on our farms. So you have your sows, and then you have a boa, 1 or 2, depending on the number of sows that you have. Yes. So when you have their offspring, okay. You make sure that those piglets or pigs that will come from the same boa, like the female pigs.
Let me hold your thoughts so we allow the last caller on the program today. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We can hear you, sir. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Yes, please.
Zulu from Chipata. It's good to know Chipata is watching this morning, Mr. Zulu. Please go ahead with your contribution.
I wanted to find out to how you know that the female pig is on heat. How would you know?
How you'd know if
a female pig is on heat?
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for that question. I'm sure there, Mr. Zulu from Chipata will be the last caller we are picking this morning due to time, to allow our guests this morning to speak as fast as they can with the last few remaining minutes and some of the questions that we have. So, Madam Mwilu, let me come back to you.
Yes, so we make sure that those offspring, like the female pigs, are not bred with their like father, the boa.
Oh.
Or also, like if you want to maintain some of those pigs on your farm, you don't mate the siblings like the female pigs and the
male
pigs from the same parents on the farm. Yes, and also as my colleague has stated, the issue of castration is also very important, where you castrate the male pigs so that they are not able to mate with the female pigs on the farm. That also helps in the inbreeding. And also, you know, when you inbreed, you have a lot of problems that emanate from inbreeding, like maybe the pigs that will be produced will have deformities, or they'll have problems with growth. So hence the reason why it is very important that you have a controlled environment, and also a person who is hands-on as well, to make sure that there's no that kind of inbreeding on the farm.
I think this is the aspect that we ignore most of the time, because I remember I've seen a situation where when pigs are born and people just think, okay, those ones when they grow, definitely they need to start mating so that they also start producing. I think this has been quite a problem. Maybe, Doc, you can elaborate more on that, even as you respond maybe to the question on the question that was just asked by the caller there on how you would know that it has been hit. So maybe you can add on, and then you can also explain to that, even as I ask maybe Mr. Chipili as we come to the concluding of the program.
Okay, so how you know if a pig or a gilt or a sow is on heat? Basically, they are very vocal. They'll let you know. They'll be loud screaming. Why does that happen? You find that the pig or the gilt or the sow, when you say gilt, is the one which has not given birth before, and a sow is the one which has given birth before. They'll start to mount other pigs. So if they're in a pen with another, maybe two others or one other, they'll start mounting on the other pig.
Okay.
Yes, it's a sign that they're on heat. The other way of knowing, at the back of a female pig, it will get very red, and it gets very red when it's on standing heat, because the heat will start at the beginning. Yes, it may start mounting, but it's not probably exactly at standing heat. So another way of making sure that it's in standing heat, if you're in a small piggery, if you take your hands, go behind the female pig and press between the middle waist of the pig, it will stand, it will stop. Then you know that it's what we call standing heat, so it's now ready to be transferred into the boar pen.
I'm learning a lot this morning on this program. I'm learning a lot on this program. Mr. Chipili, over to you. On the recruitment of extension officers, some of the callers raised the concern to say they are doing a lot, but they are not receiving enough support from the government. Maybe you can speak to that as well.
Yes, as the Pig Farmers Association of Zambia, would like to appeal to government through the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock to ensure that they consider our sector by ensuring that they recruit more extension officers. We know, for instance, in the cattle subsector, they receive a lot of help as far as, is it mouth disease? Foot mouth disease?
Foot mouth disease and stuff like that.
And farmers, they get free chemicals, free dipping. So we'd like to appeal to government that they consider our plight by ensuring that they increase on the number of extension officers that are specialized in pig production, so that we can help limit the outbreak of a disease, particularly African swine fever. We'd like to appeal to the government that it considers ongoing biosecurity measures through the districts and also through transition points. We have the toll gates. I think those are good point of control. So we would be grateful that those requirements are helped, and that when those extension officers are recruited, it doesn't end there, because they also need to move, so they need to be mobile. One of the things that they use motorbikes, so those motorbikes must be functional, so that they're able to reach the remotest part of the farming communities. As you know, we farmers are not in the city. Most of the farming is occurring in the rural parts of the country,
of course,
in the where the terrains are not good. So I'd like to appeal to government that they consider giving them modes of transportation that will make them reach the furthest parts of the country where the farming is taking place.
Madam Mwilu, in 1 minute time, let me give her a chance so that I come to you. We conclude this because it's time. So what are your last concluding remarks with regards to today's topic of discussion?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be on this program. Like has been stated by my colleagues on this program, we just want to continue to appeal to the government to look into our plight and also to expedite the process of bringing forth an act and policies and regulations that will favor the pig farmers. Also in line with the sentiments that have been expressed by the Republican president, who has continually said that they would like to make the agricultural sector an anchor of the economy of Zambia. And so we continue to appeal to the government to say, we as pig farmers, we are here and we are ready to work with the government in order to improve the pig sector and pig industry in general.
Okay, let's come to you, Doc Shakumbiro. What are your concluding remarks with regard to this topic? And of course, someone asked a question to say, how is it that I can join the association? And they are in Mwilu. How is it that they can be accommodative in this association? And going forward, how would they benefit? So as you give your concluding remarks, I'm giving you 2 minutes to just explain everything, together with what you wanted to add to what was said by Mr. Chipili.
Yes. So thank you for that. Just to add on to what Mr. Chipili said, as you know, during our launch, we did have a representative, the director from the ministry. He did add on to say they are aware that at the moment within the agricultural industry, they are operating at 25% staffing. So they are making it a need that they're looking to recruit those numbers for vet doctors, like the caller has mentioned. You know, they need transportation because at the moment, it's the farmer who takes care of those things. So they're looking to improve on that aspect. And then in relation to becoming a member, would love all of you pig farmers to come and we work together as one big pig farming family. Because like my colleague said earlier, you know, I can go this into, they say, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go further, you go as a team. So we'll be fooling ourselves if we say we can do this ourselves as 16 committee members. We want all the pig farmers on board. Only us. It's our industry. We are the ones who are facing the challenges, nobody else. And only us can change,
of course,
this. So membership-wise, for you to join, we are reachable. We are soon going to launch our Facebook page. But from the contact numbers, we are also reachable on 0978 748936. And joining is very straightforward. We do have an application form. You also have access to the benefits leaflet that we will email to you. And we do have a secretariat who are taking care of all of those things. We will leave our contact numbers here with Camnet. And we also have, obviously, on the membership aspect, you have the option of paying your membership into 3 installments. So we're trying to make it easier. We know the journey has not been easy for pig farmers. So we're trying to find ways to make it easier for us. Yes, we are still a work in progress, but with all of us involved, you know, nothing is impossible. It may be difficult, but we are very determined. We are going to do this, and yes, and we want your support. Thank you.
A lot of meat has been coming into the country from the Republic of South Africa, a lot of pig meat, while our own farmers in Zambia still do not have a market and are struggling to make a profit. This association was formed to also speak to that, to ensure that pig farmers in the country are organized and they can have value for their animals. If you are a farmer there and wanting to start that business, this association is what you should be associated to, because you have a lot of rich information to learn from them. Personally, I have learned a lot right now, and I feel like a pig farmer already. You can also do that. Let's make Zambia a better place to live in and businesses to thrive. I have been your host this morning, Prudence Tota, and on behalf of my entire production team, and of course the guests in studio this morning, it's bye for now, and keep watching Camnet TV. Remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel. Bye for now.